Do you enjoy listening to cases of out-of-body experiences? What are the precautions we should take so that what we hear do not end up interfering with our own experiences? Let's find out in a minute. Hi, this channel is about taking control of our personal evolution, both spiritually and here in this lifetime. And today we are kind of commenting about a video we published last week in which I told one of my out-of-body experiences, and I want to make a few points here about what is the right attitude that we should have when we hear someone's out-of-body experience, and what are the pros and cons of trying to learn from this type of report. One of the points that I think it's not ideal when we try to learn about out-of-body experience based on accounts from others is that naturally we end up seeing what the other person experienced as how it is, instead of learning how the mechanism of that process happens. So there are so many different aspects that can influence one's out-of-body experience. Each day is different. Actually, even if it's in the same night that you are having an out-of-body experience, you can go to different dimensions. You can have different density in your non-physical body. Your acuity of vision or perceptions may be slightly different. We can be, for example, in an environment that the energies of the environment are different and therefore can influence how the experience is going to operate and what are the mechanisms that are going to be functioning in that experience. So it's super complex. When we hear one or two or three or even 20 different cases of out-of-body experience, we have to be very conscious that we are hearing 1, 2, 3 or 20 possible situations. But that does not mean that is to illustrate or to explain all of the different conditions that can happen. The best way to learn, therefore, I think, is by understanding the whys. Why each thing happened, what causes that, and what variable would make that specific element different. That's why I strive more to research and maybe study about these specific processes that influence our experience rather than just be talking about cases. But I know that listening about cases is interesting. We want to illustrate what that is that we are studying, and also many people are curious to know what happens, what do we do in this or that case. But even, for example, if we think about when we meet someone outside the body, which is one of the fears I think many people have, what to do in those cases. Even the process of understanding what should we do when we meet other individuals, non-physical consciousness, when we are projected, it's also very complicated because each person will react in a different way. And when I say each person, I mean both the projector who is having the out-of-body experience or the astral projection, but also the individual or consciousness that we are meeting outside the body. Can be one consciousness that is projected, but can be a consciousness or a person that is in between lives. And their specific situations in terms of their lucidity, the environment or the density of the environment they are in, also the type of emotions they have, all of that can interfere. So the best is, let's study the paraphysics, as I like to say, that is how things work there, the physics of the non-physical dimension. Of course, we are just creating the expression here to try to refer to it, but let's just study that paraphysics rather than just basing in few examples. So I consider that sometimes when we just hear examples and we try to base our experiences on that, we may interfere with our lucidity, with our capacity to control our projections, because we will just infer some situations that we observe, or we will just conclude how we have to act or react based on what others did, but may not be the case that is applicable to that specific experience. So many people, they immediately think, oh, if I see someone outside the body, I should transmit energies, or I should try to communicate, or that will be dangerous, or that will be positive. None of this is a fixed will, or I should. The answer is it depends. But it's unavoidable that in that moment during our projection, we connect and we take conclusions. If we just studied based on others' experience, and if we are basing our knowledge only on that, of course, I mean. But also, for example, many people, they think, okay, I'm going to leave my body and I will fly. Yes, definitely we can fly, but always? Not necessarily. There are different elements that can make it, in some cases, very hard for us to be able to fly. Just as an example. So we need really to understand all of these subtleties. In my last video, I just told that experience of mine, but if you observe how I report that, you will see that not even in a moment when I was out of my body, I assumed, for example, I will meet some people here in this projection. Never. I was open to the possibility, but checking consciously. I never assumed, yes, I will pass through the walls, or yes, I will fly and jump out of the windows. No, I was observing what was happening. In a nutshell, we need to have both experience and theory. One of the problems that I see a lot with the study of the out-of-body experience nowadays is that there are many people who have experience, or they claim they have, and therefore we need to analyze if the experience is or is not a real out-of-body experience. But there are many who claim they have had out-of-body experience. But few of them are investigating, are doing research about that. On the other hand, we do have a few people doing research, but many of those do not have personal experiences. And when you do not have personal experiences, you lack exactly the knowledge that I'm talking about, which is what is the physics of the non-physical reality? What are the mechanisms that operate there so that we can properly analyze the experience we have had? So I think we need both. We need to be studying, observing, and researching, and all of us, we can and should do that. But also we need the actual experience to support our research, and therefore the knowledge from our research will support our experiences, and this continues growing and progressing. Another problem resulting from this attitude of only learning or basing what we know on the experiences of others is that unavoidably we end up comparing. So when we have an experience, we tend to compare and say, oh, it's not as good. Oh, it was not as lucid. Oh, I wish I had felt the disconnection from the body as Nanci felt or as someone else felt. So this type of comparison is not adequate. All of us, we are learning, including myself. All of us, we are growing. All of us, we may have some experience that worked very well and others that we failed, or that we tried to control the experience, but it was not as good as a control as we would like. So it's very natural that we will have different, maybe strong attributes, different skills, even in terms of our out-of-body experiences. Some people may be very good, for example, in concentrations, while others are going to be better in sensing energies. Others will feel they are stronger when they meet someone and they need to confront in some way, whilst others will feel that they are better in kind of telepathic communication. This is natural. This is how life is. So do not compare yourself to others when it comes to analyzing out-of-body experiences. Value what you have had. If what you had was just sensing, perhaps, your para arm or your non-physical arm disconnecting, value that. That is super important, teaches a lot, and that is amazing experience actually, because it reveals a lot if it's very lucid. So knowing how to properly analyzing and giving proper value to our own experiences is key to allow us to continue progressing. And speaking of progress, I wish you wonderful out-of-body experiences in which you can examine aspects and learn. And please do share with us in the comments down below about your experience. We all would love to hear about that and to learn with you as well. If you have anything you would like to request or suggest, I'm very open to hear. My point here is to be useful in sharing with you. If you'd like to know about future videos, please do not forget that you may want to subscribe. Thank you very much for being with me. See you next time.